So hi everybody. Josh, can you see that? Great. So I'm going to talk about Pride Road, the architectural practice franchise. So it's mainly a PowerPoint presentation with a bit of video and Lego. There's going to be some takeaways that you can apply to your own business. So you might want to get a notepad and a pen. There's going to be a Q&A at the end. And if you want to find out more, you take down my email address. It's lisa@prideroad.co.uk. And I'm going to give a couple of plugs now. For those who are on Clubhouse, that's the new iPhone social media app that's changing the way that we do things. I'm running a room called Constructive Together at 8 AM on Monday. So if you're on Clubhouse, DM me and I can add you as a co-host and then you can participate, which would be awesome. It's for construction professionals, so construction networking. So there'll be other architects in there, quantity surveyors, hopefully, interior designers, planning consultants, maybe some investors. I'm also running a podcast called Architecture in the Den. It's Mondays at 7 o'clock. Get in contact if you'd be interested in joining me as a guest. So my first question, and if you can write down the answer in the chat, and hopefully Josh or Mick will pick it up at the end. Are you thinking of starting your own practice? And if not, what's stopping you? And what are your considerations? And then to those running a practice, what's your biggest challenge? I'd be really interested to see. So answer those questions with, I'm thinking of starting a practice, and I've got my own practice, and then we can see what the responses are and see if they match up. So about Pride Road, why franchise as a business structure? Well, the success rate for franchises are greater than 90%, making this the lowest failure rate of any type of business. So it's about risk. And during time of economic uncertainty, like now, more people are focusing on improving their existing home in order to add value rather than upsizing. And we've certainly noticed an increase in workload this year as opposed to last year. So my turnover's grown to, I'm on about 115K as opposed to 90K from last year. Loads more inquiries, loads more workshops, and that's converting into more projects. The UK construction industry back in 2017 was worth £109 billion, and 7.6% is refurb and maintenance of private houses. So the size of the market's enormous. And I've got 155 territories available in the UK, and that's based on, so these are franchise territories available to buy based on 70,000 owner-occupier homes in each territory. So why franchise as a business structure? Well, the Pride Road franchise, typo there, the Pride Road franchise brand is very sticky. So hopefully, you will have heard of Pride Road before today. I'd be really interested actually if if in the chat you could just post whether you've heard of Pride Road before. Clients, so they're my consumers, clients commissioning work, say that they've often heard about Pride Road from many sources. When you join the franchise, you get lots of support. You get branding, operations manuals, a shared portfolio, which is often an issue that you face when you're setting out on your own, a proven business model. But we provide sector training, sales and marketing training, lead generation, and even coaching and image styling. So that's about confidence. So why join a franchise? So we've been working the niche sector of residential architecture for 10 years, and we're constantly innovating. So there's always a new update to our CRM system, which improves processes, automating site meetings, agendas, or tracking fees, projecting cash flow, or new marketing initiatives. Or, as in the last 12 months, finding ways to tackle COVID. So let's see, just bear with me a sec. I'm gonna start a video, hopefully, and let's see if this works. Oops, I now need to share my screen again. Sorry, this is like a normal Zoom meeting. Hi, I'm Lisa Raynes from the architectural practice franchise Pride Road. So the pandemic, COVID, lockdown 2020 has brought loads of challenges. So let's hear what the franchisees have to say.
Well, when we first heard about the pandemic, I panicked, and I was actually quite scared already, having started my business. So I think I just probably wondered if I'd done the right thing. I was trying to break even by a certain time, and I was mainly panicking that I wouldn't, and how on earth would we survive?
At the start of the first lockdown, I was really lost because most of our work with the clients is face-to-face, was face-to-face, where we were meeting them in their houses.
Lisa very quickly used clients that she had in her existing pipeline to trial doing online workshops. She videoed how she did them, and then she sent us the videos, and we had lots of phone calls, and we learned by watching her and then trialed that same system on our first clients. And then the other thing we did was quite a big marketing campaign. We did a PDF campaign, which I'd never have had a clue how to do or even to do it. And we set about phoning lots of people that we sent these PDFs to, which gave us the beginnings of some leads after the phones had all just totally dried up.
It's been great today. So I've had Magda at the house twice, which has been really good. And then we just had a follow-up workshop using an online tool, which has been brilliant. It's it's been just as good as having her sat here in front of us, because really clear on the home computer, lots of detail on the drawings. Still felt like you got that personal touch, if you like. So yeah, it's worked really well.
During the pandemic, we started to meet regularly once a week for a short follow-up. So this was a very nice social contact that would kind of bring up all the improvements or any ideas or to develop any new ideas and put them very quickly into our strategy and way of that we work.
Spent a long time during lockdown playing with Lego, and then sent us some Lego to also use for our clients during our prospects, to show them different roof types and explain different planning strategies.
As well as meeting on Zoom regularly, it was important for everybody's mental health to actually have some face-to-face contact time, whether it was off the motorway on the M6 in the service station en route to various family holidays, or on my canal boat in the pouring rain in Rugby, or a spontaneous meetup in London when just before further lockdown announcements were being made. When it came to Christmas, instead of having a Christmas party, which we were all disappointed we couldn't have, we ran a bake-off competition instead, and we had our technical associate, Alan, judging.
I'd love to. So this is my house. It's triple glazed, zero carbon, half golden syrup, half treacle gingerbread house.
Yeah, and so I'm going to go for the southern entry, and And I noticed that the chimney's big enough to fit a rotund Father Christmas into it.
As well as managing the franchisees, it was also important to grow the business and increase brand awareness. So I launched a podcast called Architecture in the Den, which is now available on Spotify. And we featured the incoming RIBA president, Simon Alford.
It seems to be doing well. It seems to be solid enough that even with this third lockdown and it being January, which I think is normally quite quiet, I'm still getting inquiries. Even I feel like I don't have to work super hard on the marketing. What I'm doing, I know what works, and if I just carry on doing a decent amount of that, inquiries come in, and I've got plenty of projects on the go now, so it feels a lot more established and I feel confident in what I'm doing.
My business is really thriving, and it's a lot of our clients stay at home and want to improve their houses because they are surrounded by the walls and
As we headed into lockdown 3, consolidation of our business systems was key. So we've now got a more robust filing system, tightened processes, and started meetings with our technicians, so it's more collaborative. Business under lockdown is booming. We've all seen an increase in our workload and turnover, and we're now actively recruiting more franchisees and have a few in our pipeline. So thanks for bearing with that. I'll now go back onto the presentation. Oh, it might help if I share my screen again. Okay. So about me, I'm a chartered architect with 20 years experience. I've got 3 kids, 2 stepkids, a cat and a lockdown puppy. I'm a narrowboat owner, so hopefully you saw that in the video. I sat on the RIBA Council 2015 to 2018. I also ran Manchester Curious in 2015 as part of the Manchester Society of Architects. I was Women in Property Chair, Northwest Chair back in 2009. I'm a business owner, a franchisor and a podcaster. So at Pride Road, we're architects, but we don't do everything. Oh, what's happened? So here's some buildings that I've worked on historically. So that I did my work experience on that. Holford's now ADAS. No, I think it's gone back to Holford's. We don't do, I used to work at Simpson Huff, which did that skyscraper in Manchester, the Beetham Tower, but we don't do skyscrapers. I've worked at Urban Splash with large scale renovations. We don't do those. Don't do master planning. I worked on that building, which was a commercial premises for Superdrug in the centre of Manchester. We don't do that. At Pride Road, we specialise. We specialise in single-storey and 2-storey extensions for homeowners, and we do them very well. So here's some of our earlier work. And we pride ourselves with happy clients. So if you are thinking of setting up your own practice or in the practice that you're in, I'd say a top tip would be to find your niche. And by being niche, we've been able to multiply. Think about who your client is. Are they male or female? How old are they? What level of education? Where would you find them? What do they watch? What do they read? Which magazines, newspapers, websites do they access? And what do they listen to? We know who our clients are. They're homeowners, they're first-time buyers, empty nesters, young professionals, young families. Oh, empty nesters again, retirees. And we know where to find them. So we find them on Facebook, in young professional groups, in mums groups. And we know what they watch. So Grand Designs, Home Made Perfect, New House, New Home, and all of Netflix. I think we've all just exhausted Netflix now. So we know how to get to our clients. Now we know where they hang out, we know how to get to them. So we use Facebook groups, Instagram, House. We'd like to align ourselves with brands like Grand Designs and John Lewis when that's possible. We spend a lot of time and money on Google SEO, Google Ads, Facebook ads, networking groups. And during COVID, we've done online networking with one-to-ones on Clubhouse. That's the new sort of iPhone app. And it's all about brand awareness. So our next tip will be about systemizing your process and not reinventing the wheel. So it's not necessarily about systemizing your design, but it's not reinventing the wheel every time. So I'm just going to show you a bit of our back of house. So how we process inquiries. So when we get an inquiry, they generally come from the website, and then we direct everyone to book directly into our diaries. So on the website, they type in make an inquiry with their postcode. So if, for example, if someone typed in a South Manchester postcode or North Cheshire, they come to me. If they were to type in a Southampton postcode, they come to Laura, and a Manchester postcode, they get to Magda. Then they book their own slot, and these diaries are sort of lined up with our calendars, so we don't double book, because I've learned that lesson very early on. They type in their details, all their contact details, and from there we then bring them into a CRM system, which is done automatically. So when I was talking about spending time on systems, I've spent the last 10 years developing this kind of customer flow, customer process, and finding easier and easier ways to transfer information across so we don't lose information. So our first client-facing booking used to be going to see a client in their home for a brief. It was an hour meeting. We do offer a free initial consultation. We want to get a handle on the property and the client and their brief, but now we're doing it on online and using Google Google Earth, Rightmove, and everyone's got a camera phone if we need it. So what this does is straight away, instead of having that email correspondence back and forward for ages, you ask them a series of questions which qualifies the client as much as them finding out about you. We're vetting them, and we're finding out if they're suitable to engage with us. If they're not internet savvy and can't make an appointment online, then we know they're going to be challenging customers. So maybe we don't want to work with them. So we run through a comprehensive brief asking them about their personal details and their partner's personal details. So you can capture two sets of information. What they do for a living, that's really useful, just to understand their personality type and what sort of clients they're going to be. Then we give an idea of fees. Well, we'll do that at the end of the briefing session. We understand about their properties, and then in our automation system, we can produce a PDF, an automated PDF, which gives them a really nice looking document which summarises all the information and then leads, including CDM, and then leads us to the next stage, which is booking a concept design workshop with us. So another thing that we like to do is, and what's really important is finding ways of engaging with the clients. And we've been doing this online, as Laura mentioned in the YouTube video. We've done that. I've made Lego during lockdown. So this is an example of a pair of semi-detached houses. So we do a lot of 1930s houses, and I made this model to explain some basic concepts to clients. So simply, that's just a really easy way of explaining the difference between a gable roof and a hipped roof. And also when clients talk about doing loft extensions, you can explain quite easily that if the stairs are on the outside, which they usually are, they then hit their head on the roof. So you need to think about turning hipped roofs into gables. And then on this side, you can explain terracing and how you need to step back two-story extensions and have it subservient as well. And on the rear, we can then start to look at different types of extensions and roof styles and what have you. I've got a terraced house model, and you can start to, it's just a useful tool. Clients really like it. They can relate to Lego, they understand it, explains things really clearly. So I'm going to go back to sharing my screen again and see where I'm up to. So we start with concept design workshop. It's a paid piece of work. We draw it by hand. It used to be at clients' houses. It used to be half a day, and we'd take payment on the day. Now we're doing them online. I've got a fancy camera overhead so people can see my workspace. We charge £300 plus VAT. And what that does is it helps. During COVID, clients do the Raynes survey. So these are kind of old examples of our workshop drawings. So during the workshop, we explained the drawings to make sure clients can read it, because not all clients can read drawings. So once you've done a drawing, an existing layout, you make sure that you point to rooms and clients tell me what they are, and you want to make sure that if you've got two people on the call, that both of them can understand where they are, what the orientation is, what the rooms are before you start. Otherwise it's a nightmare. And then what we tend to do, so once we've got the existing layout, we draw the proposed layout. And what we want to do is get the client's ideas down on paper first. So we draw their ideas out. So until that's done, a client will not be able to look at other ideas until you've shown that what they've got in their head works or doesn't work. They're not going to be able to move on. And then we come up with options. So, you know, usually it's small things, it adds value. A whole scale redesign is usually outside of the client's budget. So you do need to start managing expectations. You can draw those things, and then we then task the client to actually start to get them costed up. And then we arrange a follow-up meeting 4 weeks later, and we do that at the workshop. So you've got that in the diary. So that's another tip. you know, if you want to move a client on, arrange that follow-up meeting so you're not just leaving it in the ether for the client to come back to you. So we arrange a meeting 4 weeks later, allows them time to get it costed. We usually speak to a builder to get a ballpark figure, speak to estate agents to understand the value, speak to neighbours to see if there's any showstoppers and work out if they can afford it or not. At the follow-up, what we tend to find is, say, anything between 1 in 4 workshops or 1 in 2 workshops convert into a project. So a project is where you'd move forward with planning or permitted development and then building regulations. Because we've got all the information on hand from that brief, it's literally the touch of a button to make an engagement letter, a fee proposal. So again, we're not reinventing the wheel. You're not spending hours writing fee proposals. It is what it is. It goes out and they either accept it or they don't. Once it turns into a project, then we do planning application, building regulations, a pre-start meeting, but we actually subcontract those services to our technicians. We watch what we're doing and we kind of, in effect, white label it, and we do correct things. And I have a meeting with the clients once I've got the draft planning drawings done, so I can have a kind of tweak and get my colouring pens out and check proportions and roof heights and stuff like that. And at the moment, that's the meeting that we're going on site. I'm going on site to do. So it's the first time I'll have met the clients at the pre-planning meeting, and then we'll move forward. And as you can see, with our CRM system, it's really easy to see where projects are up to. And then there's ways of moving projects on. We've got automation set up. And we can even create pre-construction information with our CRM system. So how does it work for you if you were thinking of joining? Well, it's all about knowing your numbers. Oh, I don't think I formatted this properly. So I've marked on a calendar, on a wall chart, since 2013, every time I had an inquiry, a brief, a workshop, and a client giving us the go-ahead on a project. So it's easy at the end of the month to tally up where we're up to, but also you can look at a bit of forecasting. If you've got a quiet month, you know, if you haven't got that many inquiries, you know, to do a push on marketing. So this is another tip: know your numbers. Monitor how many networking events you're doing, meetings, inquiries, prospects, workshops, follow-ups and projects, so you can see your conversion rates. And we take you through, as part of onboarding, a business plan, so how numbers work for you. And we can work out, it is different working for yourself as to working in a job. So we can work out what your desired income is and what you need to achieve it. Okay, so I think I've actually gone through that much faster than I thought. So I'm just, if you're interested in finding out a little bit more, email me, lisa@prideroad.co.uk, and I'm just going to pop that in the chat now. And if you email me, say with the message heading, say I'd like to know more about Pride Roads, I will send you our first box. So this is just a little teaser about what you might get. So what we've got in here is a little game. So it's how to set up a business. So there might be some hints and tips in there if you're thinking of setting up your business yourself. And this is how we work. So a little kind of flash through a kind of typical set of drawings. Oops. Just so you can start to understand what our offer is and kind of what we expect from you. And actually it is achievable. Oops. So I'm going to go back to my so if you so as I said, email me lisa@prideroad.co.uk and in the subject say I'd like to know more about Pride Road franchise. Okay, so let's see what else I've got here, how the franchise works. So this is just a little bit more about how I've split the country up into different territories. As you can see, well, the grey areas don't stack up. So we've mapped the whole country to work out what's viable, because there's no point in selling a territory, say Northern Scotland, where you can't cover where you would need to cover a large area. And because we want to be able to go to houses, service our clients, we sort of say you need to be a 20-minute travel distance. So so that just doesn't work. But there are 155 other territories around the UK, and certainly a few around Nottingham and Derby. You can see how many there are in London. Let's see what's next. Yeah, so my area is, I run the North Cheshire, so I practice within the business, so I run the Pride Road North Cheshire area, which is this, the orange area. Magda has South Manchester, which is this. Laura's down in sort of New Forest and Bournemouth, so that's her area. Oops. And these are kind of the opportunities in numbers, kind of expected turnover. And there's a cost to it. We are selling the franchise, you would buy a franchise license fee for 5 years, and we are selling them for £10,000. And on top of that, you would pay a franchise fee of 10% on your turnover, paid on a monthly basis, plus £150 marketing levy. It's easy to get funding to buy into a franchise. It's a well-recognised business model, and we've agreed with deals with NatWest and HSBC, but actually it's easier to get startup funding and cheaper from other sources. Oops. So send me an email if you want to get a gift box. Right, I'm going to stop here. So hopefully my hosts are there and haven't gone to sleep and are going to come back up and ask me some questions.
No, thank you very much, Lisa, for that.
We're both here. Don't panic. Yeah, no, that was very interesting. Thank you for taking us through
It's
that.
a pleasure. Sorry, I just realised it came across as a bit of a hard sell.
Well, I think the people that are here are probably interested in understanding, you know, the navigating those waters. So it's hard to, I suppose, not sell it, because people already understand what it's likely to be, and they might be looking for that new horizon. You know what I mean?
So, any questions?
Yes, we've had a few questions. I suppose I want to jump in with mine first, selfishly.
Yeah.
So we mentioned just before we went live that, I mean, if I ever wanted to do this in the future, I don't know if I ever would, but my concern has always been risk.
Yeah.
You mentioned that at the start of the presentation, and I'm just wondering, what does the franchise offer? Because others might be thinking the same.
Yeah.
That helps reduce that risk. You know?
Yeah. Well, you've got a proven business model.
Yeah.
So, you know, we're architects, we know how to study, we know how to learn, and we know how to apply things. So you're essentially getting a kind of toolbox of how to set up your own business. So to start off with, there's 10 days training on all skills. So we take you through finances, marketing, sector training. I know there's a lot of people out there who are like, well, I've just done cladding packages, or I've just done toilet design, or I just do schools, or I just do health. You know, I don't know anything about working on homes. Well, you know, we kind of go back and we do kind of domestic vernacular design 101.
Yeah.
And we'll teach you the basics so you understand it. And then we'll do work shadowing as well.
Yeah.
So you shadow me, and then we'll throw you in the deep end and I'll shadow you, and it's really awkward. And then you'll fly. So, you know, there's a little bit, you know, it's a little bit scary. There's a lot to take on, but it's a challenge. We've got loads of videos on our YouTube channel, Pride Road, funnily enough. I think it's Pride Road Architects, with Laura just talking through a training in the first year.
Yeah.
So, you know, how she found it, you know, actually doing it. So we provide the training, we provide the website, we provide all the mechanisms. We say, right, okay, sorry, is it Mike or Mick?
Mick.
Mick.
Yeah.
So we say, Mick, you know, right, okay, write me 3 blogs.
Yeah.
And you'll go and do it. You know, write me a blog about your hometown, write me a blog about some work that you've done.
Yeah.
Tell me about yourself, and you'll do it. And we'll feed that in.
Yeah.
So it's you know, we very much kind of lead you, you know, we lead you through the process.
Yeah.
And we provide the marketing supports. A lot of things, you know, a lot of the risks that people talk about is, or worry about, is lead generation and clients.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I suppose that salesmanship is, it's not a skill that everyone has. You know, it's not why everyone joins the profession. So yeah, it's great that you have got those opportunities to upskill, I suppose.
Yeah.
I just wondered, before we went into the formal Q&A, which there's questions dropping in, you asked those questions at the start. There's a couple of comments in the chat, so I didn't know whether you wanted me to just read through those.
That'd be awesome.
So we've got an answer from Helen, who, after you asked your question, said, no, I'm pretty green and I'd be scared to encounter problems without support. Now, I suppose as you've gone through the talk this evening, you know, you've got the technical support, you've got, you know, the standard appointment documents and things. So I suppose, have you got any other kind of encouragement for Helen on that?
Yeah, I'd say, you know, we're always there on the end of the phone or WhatsApp. So to start off with, you know, we're on the phone every day.
Yeah.
During lockdown, you know, we've been on the phone, we've been having kind of Zoom chats once a week, but actually having, you know, informal chats kind of 2, 3 times a week, whenever there's issues that come up. You know, there's never a stupid question.
Yeah.
I think, and that's what I just encourage, just say, you know, we've got the experience, you know, I must have done hundreds of projects.
Yeah.
We've come across almost everything. I mean, there's always, you know, slight, you know, different councils have got different SPDs, you know, supplementary planning guidance. You know, there might be different rules if it's a national park or a green belt or whatever, but you know, we've got the tools to help you answer those questions or know where to look.
Yeah, I mean, Helen has also went on to say that she saw the Pride Rose franchise advertised on Facebook, but also a friend of hers has apparently talked to you at your HQ. So it must have been before COVID about setting up a practice. So I suppose that's a positive. Your marketing is successful. And equally, we had a comment from Chris Pitt who said he'd not heard of you before. So I assume this is his first insight.
There you go, getting another way to get out there. But also you kind of think, you know, this is how we're getting out to the architecture market. Equally, this is how we get out to our clients. So, you know, we use similar tactics, you know, brand awareness, being experts in the field, Facebook ads, you know, talks, whatever. So that helps draw clients to us.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that seems to be the chat kind of content. So if we move on to the questions, we've got a question from Ben Price. He's put, what was it that initially made you decide to go down the franchise route instead of following a conventional practice model?
So, very interesting. I set up in 2010 because I'd been made redundant.
Right.
I had had a young family, been made redundant twice whilst on maternity leave, and I had no other option but to go it on my own. And I started looking, you know, doing what we all do is just diversify. I can do, you know, I'm an architect, I can do anything. And I just tried going into all different sectors. Then I just realized that the domestic architecture market, the domestic sector was just the most stable.
Yeah.
And really predictable. So that's why I went down that route. And then I read a business book, Michael Gerber's E-Myth Revisited, which if you've not read it, you must read it. And what he talks about he talks about technicians, like people who have a skill.
Yeah.
They could be an architect, there could be a dentist, there could be a pie maker. You know, you've trained in that skill, but you've not trained in running a business.
Yeah.
And what he said was systemize everything to be able to almost take yourself out of the equation. And it was about systems, and then he just kind of mentioned franchising within that, and then kind of read another book that talks about franchising. I thought this is the way to get out there, because I knew that there was a problem in the industry.
Yeah.
I knew that architecture is difficult if you're trying to, you know, run a family, or, you know, if life gets in the way.
Yeah, I suppose the other thing is that companies, you tend to find the directors have different skill sets, you know, in order to make the business successful. So I suppose for people that don't necessarily want to have a business partner and want to do it themselves, this is that kind of mechanism. I mean, you talked about that you set this, or you started this project, the franchise project, when you got made redundant. There's probably been quite a few people in that situation recently, or there might have been people in the situation where they weren't too happy with the current employment. Have you found an increase in interest since COVID's hit us?
Yes, it's been a bit quiet recently, but at the beginning there was quite a lot of interest. But I think architects are quite risk averse. So there's a lot of people waiting to find out about jobs and find out how long furlough is going to last for. You know, before they kind of seem to get like architects kind of need to be pushed into redundancy or whatever in order to then start making some decisions and looking out.
I suppose that's the thing. We are naturally problem solvers, but potentially when the problem's our own, we're maybe trying to solve it. Moving on to our next question from Sarah. She's put, are you considering taking on other types of projects like new houses or conservation projects, for example?
Not at the moment. We've kind of perfected our business model for homeowners, and it's kind of, it works really well. There's another set of, if you're looking at new homes, there's another set of kind of skills, or not skills, but factors that play into it. You need more reports. There's a much higher cost for the setup of them. So I'd say not at the moment. It may be something in the future.
Yeah, I suppose one thing I picked up from your presentation that kind of links to that was, this relationship you establish with your clients. I've always been conscious that a lot of people think that architects are quite up themselves in some ways and better than certain clients, which probably applies more to the residential small clients. It's their home. Do you find that you're putting the value back into the architect's role with these relationships you develop?
Definitely. I mean, a lot of clients come to us because they look around for architects and they see faceless companies. Everyone's like award-winning or sort of very kind of slick clinical designs, and loads of photography without people in it, and they find it really hard to relate. So one thing that we provide is you've got a shared portfolio. You can use our professional photos for all your marketing, which show people in nice spaces.
Yeah, I mean, the thing I found when I've done those on the side projects that you do outside of your day-to-day, extensions for family or distant family friends, sometimes they are quite challenging clients, and you think, why did I take this on? But it's great you've got that framework and they understand.
And the way we've developed the process is to manage those clients. It's about those briefing documents are so important. Right from the offset, how much is what did you pay for your house? What's it worth now? What's your budget? Because there's no point in designing something that's like going to cost 200 grand and you're only going to get 50 grand worth of value. That's not a happy scenario for anybody.
No, that's a good point. That is always a question that you kind of have to bridge, because obviously it's people's personal homes as well, and they take things very personally. It's a big decision for them often. So it's not some big developer, so to speak.
I was always worried going into this market that it was really litigious.
Right.
Because it is those personal things, but I have not found that whatsoever.
Yeah. I suppose the finished product, when you see them happy, that's the heartwarming thing, isn't it? That's your payback almost. Okay, next question. Again, another one from Ben, quite a long one. As a follow-up to my initial question, when you mentioned that people haven't been trained in how to run a business as part of their profession, what are your perspectives on the architectural education in respect to preparing people for the business aspects of architecture, specifically in relation to part 3 as the grand finale of becoming a capable architect?
Very good, very good. I'm actually a part 3 examiner.
I think what I'd like to add to that is do you have any what's the phrase, kind of comments, or have you been able to review the proposed way ahead document that is looking at restructuring the CPD and the educational structures of architects, both at an education level, and then how that then creates a solid thread that runs through their professional life, rather than kind of just dropping off at a certain point when they feel it's not high enough up their to-do list, I guess.
Yeah, no, I haven't seen the way ahead document.
Okay, well,
Long
that answers that
question,
question.
short answer. Yeah, there is a disconnect between the kind of part 1, 2 and 3 course. I try and go into part 2 universities to talk about Pride Road and just showing it as a business model to start kind of opening that up and getting people to think about it.
Yeah.
But I can only go in, when invited by, the departments, the universities themselves. On the I've not sat on the RIBA education committee. Maybe it's something I need to do, because I'd liked this to be brought into practice. I'd like some of these practices to become part of the standards.
Yeah, more established norms, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whilst we're just waiting for any other final questions to trickle in, then Lisa, I suppose something that I wondered is, how many franchisees do you currently have, and how have you found that kind of develop?
Well, there's only 3 of us.
Okay.
However, the systems are there to grow.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if you kind of got a feeling for how sophisticated our back office is with those slides that I showed you.
Yes, it definitely felt to me like, it saved you from having to do the admin to a degree. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I can do admin, on jobs very quickly.
Yeah.
Let me just say, yeah. So today, I got a client who was, just got planning, wants to move on to building regs. It's one button because it's an automated response.
How does that mechanism work then? Because you mentioned you've got technicians. Are they how do they kind of feed into the franchise?
So we could subcontract out.
Yeah.
But we have we vet them. We vet the technicians. So we've got procedures and policies, and then we monitor their work. But effectively, they draw. They CAD up our drawings according to our standards.
Yeah.
To start off with, we will, at head office, we'll vet them.
Yeah.
Anyway. And then, once that relationship's been established, then, we're happy to leave that. But then they'll feed into the dialogue with the team as well. So
brilliant. We've got 3 more questions, and I suppose after that we probably try and draw to an end, so we slot in nicely and everyone can have their evening. Yep. These 3 are from Helen, who was quite active in the chat earlier. So she just put, not a very serious question. With the name of Pride Road, are you worried clients might get confused that the business is based on a real road?
Yeah, I have had a couple of people say, "Oh, where's that?" But you can just you're trying to establish a relationship with someone anyway, because people buy from people. So a light-hearted comment back like, "No, it's our name," or whatever. Yeah, the name actually came from well, if you can see in the background, the logo. So and we spent quite a lot of money with Paul Lidden, Agency Spring, doing this branding exercise. So they came up with the Pride Road. So it's about being a pride of lionesses.
Yeah.
With fierce. So that's the lioness there. Road puts it into an urban context. And then you've got the street sign.
Yeah.
Which is about familiarization. So, and we don't divert from that. It's those colours. That's there's this tessellation as well, which you saw in the slides, which it's just it's quite tactile, and kind of clients love it because it's bit textural and moves away from that, you know, faceless kind of city centre.
Yeah.
Practice.
Okay, next question from Helen. What would happen if you already had a franchisee for Derby, but someone based in Derby wanted to franchise? Would you move them to Nottingham, for example, or just say no?
I'd have to have a look at the way Derby and Nottingham are split up. There was that. I showed the map beforehand. That's a conversation to be had.
Yeah.
It works really well if you've got two franchisees next to each other.
Yeah.
Because you can, you know, you can grow next to each other and feed stuff backwards and forwards.
Yeah, I mean Derbyshire, and I suppose the Peak District in a way is an unusual one because people from South Yorkshire associated the Peak District as theirs, and people from Derbyshire associate it as theirs, and you've kind of got a bit of a melting pot. And then there's Manchester to the top, and it's a bit.
That's one of the reasons why I invested in that territories mapping exercise early on, because that's it. Those are the outlines.
Yeah.
I mean, when I first started trying to divvy it up, I had the weirdest shaped territories thinking, and like I was trying to work out Magda's, and they covered like half a dozen conurbations. You know, it's like have a bit of, you know, this and that, and like there's no way you can travel safely between them.
Yeah.
You know, if you've got an area that's got, you know, 2 or 3 hotspots in it, you focus your marketing on there, and you know, you're more local.
Yeah.
Rather than trying to cover everywhere. There's enough work.
Yeah. Yeah. And final question from Helen: do you have a QS to help with design costing, or is it just experience?
We do a bit of training on, well, we do quite a bit of training on costing. So, and it's experience, so that you can steer it if you have to. You know, if a client's going, I want this, and you're going, well, your budget's only that, you can actually start to look at them and bring them back into line.
Yeah.
I always say, you know, that a client should get things costed properly.
Yeah.
It's going to be making make or break decisions.
Yeah.
And I tend to kind of push them towards builders to get ballpark figures, but that's proving quite difficult at the moment. We do have QSs that will do sort of quick cost plans who we work alongside.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. So I suppose I'll hand back over to Josh, because I think that's all the Q&A dealt with.
That was good timing.
It is.
It is. Thank you. So yeah, thank you very much for that. That's really insightful into how the practice is set up and is developing. Yeah, so I think there's just left for me to close out and thank everyone for attending this evening. I hope everyone has found it informative and enjoyable for the first one of the year. We have another 3 events, I believe, in February, so we're quite packed for the short month of the year. We have another practice profile in 2 weeks, and then we have a couple of CBDs on climate change, and there'll be more information on those on the website. But I think they are all available or live on Eventbrite. So if you do a quick search for us on there, you'll be able to find the registration details there, or if not, through the website itself. So yeah, I think that's about it, really.
Could I just add one thing, Josh?
Sorry?
Can I just add one thing?
Yeah, by all means.
So it's not gone live on the website yet, but for those that are interested, we are due to have a talk in mid-March from Jesco and Wiles on the Nottingham Island site. And the first phase of that site that's been wanting to be developed for the last, 15 years, I think.
That's one, yes.
So keep an eye out for that as well, because I think that will be very popular, because, it's a very interesting piece of architecture that's going in. So, yeah, keep your eyes peeled.
Yeah, certainly. Okay, well, on that note, I will close this evening. Thank you again to everyone, and I hope you enjoyed it.
Brilliant, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.